The date is July 2, no, it's actually 1:18 a.m., so it's July 3, 2020. And right now we are still in the thick of the quarantine. I just came from the mall earlier, and I can tell you that it just feels different going out nowadays. There are spots on which you can stand to maintain social distancing, and everyone's wearing masks, of course. Even good friends who walk together cannot be close to each other. And right now, it just feels like while you're out, and it should be a fun experience. You feel that the sense of human connection is lost. And I'm realizing we never really appreciated it in the past, and I know that even I have taken it for granted because I'm always surrounded by people who I'm always surrounded by people, given that I'm an events host. And during the quarantine, it's been a really tough and very introspective time for me. So I was watching videos earlier when I got home, and there was Robert Greene talking about how we can use the quarantine and being at home and alone as time we can spend developing not just one aspect but also several aspects of our lives. And with the daily lives we used to lead, a lot of us work 9 to 5 jobs. A lot of us are freelancers. A lot of us have very demanding jobs that require us to stay later than what's on paper. The purpose of why we go out are mainly dictated by the demands of others. It could be our jobs, our clients, some errands that we have to go and do, friends and family. That's practically the world that we live in. But now we are barely coming out of a quarantine wherein only one person per household can go out and do the groceries. That's it. No friends to meet, no drinks at the bar, no good steak. I mean, even fast food was closed for a while back there. So this crisis has really forced us into a corner, and just like you, it has forced me to look within and actually look at what's inside. So just before the quarantine, I remember feeling like I was starting to become an introvert. I thought that being around people as much as I was no longer served me well. Little did I know that I was going to be taking it back so soon when the quarantine started. I hated the feeling of having to stay in my room, and when you think about it, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, this anxiety eating at you, being stuck at one place for too long, even if it's in your own room. I know we human beings are restless creatures. So I did some thinking, and I realized that I had to do something, not just to counter these feelings of unease or restlessness, but also to turn it around and basically make a negative into a positive. Sometimes that's where life takes you, to a spot where the only choice you have is either to give up or create something new that will actually add value to your life. Now, let's get real for a second. I don't want to scare you, but for the thinking man, it would be wise to prepare for things. See, imagine this. Once the flu season comes, once that comes, people are going to be, and of course naturally, they are going to be coughing and sneezing. And now, they may not have the virus, but imagine the paranoia and the chaos that will happen once everyone seems to have the virus, right? This would make a second lockdown imminent and unavoidable, also given that we don't have a vaccine yet. So with that being said, I'd like to share with you some of the habits I've practiced in order to be able to cope during trying times as these, should they happen again. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't have to go back in, but should we need to, I hope these things help. So yeah, let's rock and roll. Alrighty. The first thing, and this is something that I picked up back in 2006, would be journaling. Okay? During the quarantine, I did a lot of spring cleaning and I found all the journals that I've made since 2006. So that's 14 years worth of journals. Anyway, now in the beginning, those were journals that included everything. There were poems that I made, there were some notes, some post-its from other people, songs that I wrote, and other life events. Now, I really didn't realize what purpose they served until I found them again. And this is really something big for me. See, those journals and seeing those journals and going over them again, I saw how I progressed as a person. It gave me a sense of nostalgia. It gave me a sense of direction, of the direction that I've taken in the things that I considered as my goals in the previous years. And one really fun part about it is when you've been doing it since 2006, you can actually trace back to what you were doing at any given day from today, from the present. For example, I was looking at my journal back in 2017, and I can see that on the same date, July 2, which was yesterday, I was checked in at some hotel and working on a script for a Spanish telenovela, and also I was a voice actor for that same show. It's pretty awesome. It's like having a time machine that can take you back into time, right? Like, what were you doing? How about you? What were you doing 3 years ago, right? So those are some of the things that journaling can do for you. For me, the value that journaling has brought me is the discipline of being able to write down your thoughts, your goals, your tasks, or any life events and everything else in between. It also allowed me to be more organized. You know, I'm a dude, not always organized, but it's also kept me preoccupied, whether I was busy or during the quarantine. Actually, during the quarantine, that's when I realized that I had to pick up the podcast again and started reaching out to people. And this is because I didn't have anything to do most of the days during lockdown, if I'm being perfectly honest. Journaling also, in a way, encourages delaying gratification, which is a good practice if you're trying to succeed at anything, because you're taking the time every day to write down, to breathe, and actually have your thoughts clarified or crystallized in front of you, right? This is a practice by people who know the value of prioritizing hard work and are flexible in their approach but fixed on their goals. So if you're thinking about starting your own journal, I would suggest going to bulletjournal.com. This is not an advert, okay, an ad. Go to bulletjournal.com and just watch the videos there. They're free, and it actually surprises me that not a lot of people know about bullet journaling. It's really clever. Definitely check that out. So next thing I picked up is another journal, which is a gratitude journal. Now, I've always had this journal with me. I've had it for a long time, but admittedly, I haven't gotten around to writing on it as consistently as I would on my bullet journal. Now, this basically takes your weekdays, some minutes off of your weekdays for you to be able to sit down and fill some of the blanks up. What blanks are those? Those are some of the things that you write down during the weekdays, and then you rest on your weekends. Okay, just like work, but just like work, you got to be consistent, right? I actually have 3 journals. But we will only talk about the bullet journal and the gratitude journal because the third one is not related and too specific to my job. So going back to the gratitude journal, we have 7 days in a week, right? And this is what we write for each weekday. Please feel free to press pause at any time so you can write down what we are going to be writing down on the gratitude journal for each day of the week from Monday to Friday. Here we go. For Monday, that is a perfect time for Thanksgiving. It's the beginning of the week. So there are many things in your life for which to be grateful. This might include close friends, being in a loving relationship, being part of a supportive family, enjoying your good health, having a roof over your head or enough food to eat rather. Alternatively, you might have a job that you love, have happy memories of the past, recently had a nice experience such as an especially lovely cup of coffee, right? You may have enjoyed the smile of a stranger, had your dog welcome you home, eating a great meal, or just stopping to smell the flowers, like literally. So think back over the past weekend and list 3 of those things on Mondays. Okay? Now, on Tuesdays, pag Tuesdays naman, we think about one of the most wonderful experiences in your life. I'm sure you have several of them. So perhaps it could be a moment where you felt suddenly content, a time when you were in love, right? When you listened to an amazing piece of music or experienced an incredible performance or a concert or had a great time with friends. Choose just one experience and focus on that and imagine yourself back in that moment in time. Imagine, like really immerse yourself. Imagine how you felt and what was going on around you. Now spend a few moments writing down a description of that experience and how you felt. Do not worry about your spelling, your punctuation, or your grammar. Just simply commit your thoughts on paper. Next, Wednesdays are for the future, right? So on Wednesdays, we spend a few moments writing about your life in the future. Imagine that everything has gone well as it possibly could. Like everything. So be realistic. But imagine you also have become the person that you really want to be, and your personal and professional life feels like a dream come true. Now, all of this may not necessarily help you with your goals, but it will help you feel good and put a smile on your face, right? So, after Wednesday is Thursday. Now, for Thursdays, think about someone in your life who is very important to you. Someone you cherish, someone you treasure, okay? It might be your partner, a close friend, or a family member. Imagine you only have one opportunity to tell this person how important they are to you. Now, what you will want to do is write a short letter to this person describing how much you care for them and the impact they have had on your life. And for the last day of the weekdays, Friday, this is a time for us to review the situation, think back over the past 7 days, and make a note of 3 things that went really well for you. It doesn't have to be a big thing, it could be anything. The events might be fairly trivial, such as, finding a parking space, or more importantly, such as being offered a new job or a new opportunity. Okay, so I hope you were able to write those down, and this works especially well if you are often preoccupied with thoughts that seem to be distractive or even, I'd go as far as to say, self-sabotaging. For myself, this immensely helped me reframe my mindset on a daily basis and helped me realize where I invest my focus on. Now, when I realize that I'm investing my focus on the wrong things. It could be something trivial, but I saw on social media, or current events that no one will get to the bottom of, or a post on Facebook which rubbed me the wrong way, right? Having written down on the gratitude journal for a while helped me become more appreciative, right? It made me realize the things that I take for granted, including my own energy and where I chose to invest it. And it has allowed me to encourage some of my friends who have felt anxious or depressed. Sometimes all it takes is a little shift in perspective. All right, so I'd like to give you a bonus to this, right? Like, journaling has really helped me. Anyone who knows me knows that I write down what happens in my day, right? So I'd also like to share with you some of the things that helped me. These are some of the things that I rediscovered during the quarantine. It would be the combination of the letters W, M, and L, right? WML. That stands for working out, meditation, and learning. Now stop. You might think that you know about this already, but hear me out, okay? Working out, I'm not sure where you are in your life right now, but it was not a given for me. And I had to learn how to build more energy by exercising. Matter of fact, I used to play basketball. I was the team captain in my varsity basketball team when I was in college and in high school. But at 36 years old, it's not that I feel weak. I realized that leading a sedentary lifestyle, which does not prioritize motion to create energy for my body and in my body, has caused me to be that way. There are days when I wake up at 4:30 a.m. and put my gear on and just start running. Yes, this was during the quarantine. Well, the latter part of the quarantine, right? Now I'm still in the experimental stage of whether this will work out for me in the long run or not. But most people would still consider 4:30 a.m. as an unholy hour, right? But the sessions I've put in so far, let me tell you, they have allowed me to kick into an extra gear whenever I need energy. And there are nights when I'm required to stay later than I should because of a project or anything like that. I feel my strength coming back, and also it helps improve my mood, which is really, really important to me. All right, so that's working out. Second would be meditation. Oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how valuable this has been for me. I used to be 100% skeptical about this at the beginning, and by beginning I mean several years ago, back in 2015, right? I had all these misconceptions about meditation, mostly that it was closely tied to yoga, but that wasn't necessarily the case, right? Meditation is something personal, so it varies from person to person. There are a lot of forms of yoga that I believe there are a lot of forms of meditation, rather, that I believe could accommodate each person who tries it. But for me, I am a big fan of breath work. This is, of course, when you focus on your breath. I'm going to have to stop there because there are a lot of methods when it comes to breath work, but I would recommend the Wim Hof method. That's WIMHOF, right? I'm not going to spoil it for you, so instead I'll say that it would be fun to research about him and see what you discover. Just try a couple of his guided meditation programs on YouTube and see if it serves you well. All right? Now, the last part of WML would be learning. Being in quarantine, geez, man, it has allowed me to actually circle back to my books, ones that I've left half unread, and also the ones that I've been meaning to read. And right now I've been reading the titles like The Secret History of the World by Jonathan Black, and also I don't remember if it's the second or the third book, but the second or the third book in the Secret series by Rhonda Byrne called The Hero. And also, if you're big on social media, if you're selling something, I'm not really selling anything yet. Not like a lot of our friends in quarantine, but there's this book by Gary Vaynerchuk called Jab, 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 Right Hook. So, it's helping me understand social media even more. So, let me ask you, what is a book that you've always wanted to read again? You may not realize it this right away, but the first few times you read, when you read a book for the first few times, you will always find that you missed something. That's almost always sure, right? I really think that books are always fun to rediscover, and you will never walk away from that conversation empty-handed. So, a quick reminder: these habits require consistency for you to achieve the intended effect. Now, they could either be a habit that you formed during the quarantine and then snapped out of once the quarantine is over, or when a vaccine is introduced, I don't know. But should you decide to continue with these habits, I don't think there's a way that you can ever lose, right? Like, these are habits that could form a new you, and they are habits at the same time that you can definitely pass on to the people that you love and be able to help them cope too. This is Mike Acuña for episode 24. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.